We're talking about flipping your shit today. So when you're feeling these feelings of uncertainty and overwhelm, when you're feeling this loss of control, when you're feeling, like stressed and overwhelmed because you don't really obviously have much control over what's going on right now, we can start to get really stressed. And the fuel to the fire of stress is what's going on in our mind, right? Only if we are adding to it by way of stressful thoughts. So what we're going to do tonight in terms of flipping your shit, we're going to be flipping those stressful thoughts, or those thoughts that are unhelpful, those thoughts that are not empowering you, those thoughts that are keeping you kind of zoned in to areas of your life that are bringing you more stress. And we're going to be flipping it so that you can feel a little less stressed, feel like you have a little bit more control, because the thing is, you actually have a choice about how you're experiencing this situation, how you're experiencing every day, how you're experiencing moment to moment. And I'm well aware that that's probably not something that a lot of people maybe want to hear right now. And I do feel that as well. But what I'm saying to you right now is, please maybe come at this with an open mind. Please come at this with some curiosity, that perhaps maybe if you do a little bit of tinkering up here, that might mean that you have a better outcome in your reality, because that's what I'm here for. I'm hoping that I can help you, and at the very least, maybe ease some of your stress, okay? So, where shall we go with this? All right, so as I was talking about before, like, what is fuel to your current reality? And typically, I'm going to start with the mind tonight. Start with mind. We're going to just be on the mind tonight. We don't have a whole lot of time. I want to keep these punchy. So what I want to talk about here is what your mind can do for you. Now, if you're someone that's already experiencing anxiety, you're experiencing anxiety maybe on a regular occurrence, you're really good at this practice, okay? So it just means that instead of looking to a future reality and seeing like stuff go wrong, or seeing the worst that can happen, or things that are going to be unsettling for you, you're actually going to do that same kind of practice, but you are going to be putting yourself in the current reality of a future that is more helpful for you. If you're not following along so well, just bear with me. All right, so what's going on in your head? That's the first thing you need to know, because we are living in an unconscious world 95% of our time, 95% of our day. We're living unconsciously, which works really well for us, because we don't want to have to consciously be thinking how to walk, how to drive. You know, it's going to be very difficult for us to survive as humans if we are really conscious. So what our body has done has created these neurological pathways in our mind. And when we do things very often, when we do things regularly, those programs, those neural wirings get ingrained quite strongly, okay? So it's like when you start to learn a practice, for example, driving the car, right? When you start to learn to drive the car, it's not a habit yet. It's not something that comes easily to you. And you can probably think step by step of how to do it. Whereas when you've been driving a car for years and years, that neural pathway has been really deeply ingrained. So to even try and teach someone else, it can be quite difficult. Same with like walking and the stuff that we really just take for granted that we are able to do without even thinking about it. Okay, so 95% of our time is spent in this kind of unconscious loop by the time you're 35. So you can imagine that up until this point in time, if you have had these constant, regular thought patterns, they then create your reality, because you're not even aware of what's going on in your head 95% of the time. And so therefore, you are like playing out an unconscious program to create your reality. So how can we make this work for us? If you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling overwhelmed, the first thing you need to do is start to become conscious. Actually, there's lots of things that you can do. But in terms of what we're talking about tonight, this practice of flipping your shit, is start to be conscious. Be conscious of what's going on up here. So if what's coming up for you is, you know, for example, let's give it you guys a little bit of a, hi to everyone. Hi, Kylie and Belinda. So let's give you guys an example. If you are in a situation right now where you all of a sudden have your children at home with you, maybe you're not working, maybe you are working from home, maybe you normally have more time to yourself, or more time to do some creative pursuits, or more time where you can be in control of something like a work project, or maybe going to an office and doing some work. So if you're in this state right now, perhaps some of the stuff that's going through your mind might be things that have come up before, as in when you get to this kind of level of feeling like you're out of control, this level of uncertainty, maybe things that pop into your head are things like, I'm not going to be able to do this. Or, God, if I'm not coping now, how am I going to be coping in like 1 month, 2 months? Like, this is just the start. If it is that, you know, you've spent a day at home with your kids and they're having meltdowns left, right, and center, and you're just thinking, fuck this shit. Those kind of thoughts, yeah? Chances are you're not even aware of them. And you'll be conscious of this if you have perhaps small children at home. They might come out and say things and you're like, where did they get that from? And your partner, husband, wife might be like, you sweetheart, you know? My little guy, what did he say the other day? Oh, he dropped something and he was like, oh shit. And I was like, excuse me? Yeah, me, right? So what we're going to do is, one, be aware of what's going on in our minds. And look, you don't have to be on this like 100% of the time, okay? Like, enjoy your life, carry on with your life. But when you can remember to tune in, when you're starting to feel that stress state or rage or frustration or whatever it is, check in with what's going on in your mind. So what we're going to do, flip your shit. You're going to flip it to something better. You're not going to flip it to just something that's kind of a little bit better or equal. I want you to go OTT. I want you to go over the top. I want you to think of something that is kind of completely unbelievable, something that is way out there that maybe if you actually said it out loud and you're in public, people will be like, are you off your head? Sort of like looking to this, for example, what I'm saying here is like, you know, if there's absolute pandemonium happening in your house and you're just like, I can't deal with this, maybe you're flipping your shit to go, I love this chaos, which perhaps at the time feels so unbelievable. And you're just like, why would I even do that? I'm not believing it now. So the reason why you're going to do that is because when you are pushing up and up and up, when you're going to that kind of top level of imagining and creating and I guess putting a new thought out into the world, I want you to go so big that you are confronted with believing it so that you have a really big buffer space. Okay, I don't want you to limit yourself so that eventually you do it enough and enough and enough that maybe you do start to believe it and then you start to feel it. And before long, it might take a little while, it might take a long time, who knows? You are starting to feel into that. And what our brain does is when we believe something, when we think a thought, when we have an idea, we then start to notice that everywhere, right? We start to really pick that out. It's the same thing where, you know, if someone says to you, oh, this is probably a really bad example actually, but if someone were to say, oh, that person is so annoying, or maybe your child does something that really pushes your buttons, and you just, the first time you think about it, you're like, oh God, that really grates my gears when they do that. And then you'll probably notice that a hell of a lot more. Maybe it's your partner who does something particularly, and the first time you notice it, you're like, oh my gosh, I've been with him for years. Has he or she been doing it this whole time? And then you start to notice it a lot more, right? Okay, so this is like, it's the law of attraction, basically. It is us putting on a new lens putting on any kind of lens, and our brain then finding the evidence to prove to us that we are right. We are always being supported, and whether that's in a good or a bad way, it's up to you. So let me give you some examples. We'll go from here, and then I want you to have a play with them. I want you to, just have a play. Maybe you'd like to journal it. Maybe you'd like to just mentally check in throughout your day. I invite you to continue with this practice. do it as many times as you can. Like, shit's getting down right now, so don't be too hard on yourself if you forget it tomorrow or the next day, and just keep picking it up and having a play. So perhaps if it is something like what I was talking about before, maybe it's like, fuck this shit. Okay, that's really not going to help you. What might be a bit more helpful is, I can breathe through this. Now, we're not going very big with that one, right? But this is in the moment now. Yes, you can breathe through this. Telling yourself you can breathe through this. Maybe it is, this shit doesn't bother me. Okay, maybe that is really big for some people. Maybe you like your house to be a certain way, and having kids at home, it looks like a disaster. You saying to yourself, this shit doesn't bother me, when perhaps it really does. The more you say that, the more it's not actually going to bother you. Maybe you're getting a bit worried about, maybe you're seeing a lot of homeschooling going on, or, and this is something I put in my Insta post recently, all of these domestic goddesses coming out of the woodwork, and you're starting to compare yourself with other people, and you're thinking, oh, fuck, I'm not enough. No, you are more than enough. So reminding yourself, if that's the thought you're having, no, I am more than enough. I'm more than enough. I have more than enough. I am more than enough. That goes for toilet paper as well, right? I really shouldn't joke about that, but you get where I'm coming from. What else? Who else is on here? Do you guys want to maybe share something with me as to what might be difficult for you? Maybe you're aware of some things that have come up for you, and maybe it's something that you say quite often that you find isn't really helpful, and you want something to lean on that's going to be a little bit more helpful, and you can't think of anything right now. If you've got anything and you would like to pop it in the comments, you're welcome to. And that goes for you following along at home, watching the recording through my IGTV. Pop the comments down here. If there's anything that you would like to, I'm getting lots of emojis, great. If there's anything you'd like me to help you flip your shit with, pop it in the comments now. And we can go from there. I heard a ding, so maybe there is someone leaving me something. I'm trying to think of what else we could play with. Okay, so if it's to do with children, like if it's this idea that now you've got your kids with you all the time, you're like, oh my God, there's not enough time for me. Maybe it's like, I have more than enough time for me. Or maybe it's you noticing how, like, the spaciousness that you get when your children are home. Like, I'm so much more relaxed when I have my kids at home. I have so much time to do what I need to. I have more than enough time to do what I need to look after myself. All right, Belinda says, money blocks. I'm leaning into abundance. Oh, money blocks. My favorite. Well, not my favorite, but one of my favorites. Because I've been working with Hayley Carr recently in Super Abundant. I highly recommend you get onto that the next time she runs it. And it's the same kind of thing. It is about, what is it that you want your reality to be? Like, if you are buying a coffee and you've still got money left in your wallet, like, you have more than enough. You have more than enough for that coffee. What else? Because money is a good one, especially at this point in time. Maybe it is, the universe always has my back. I think that even might be a Gabby Bernstein quote. Anyway, it could be, however much I spend, I get that back times 10. Right? Go big. It could be, whatever money we lose this month, we'll make up by 10. Now, it doesn't have to have a certain timeline on it, because then you're going, okay, universe, come on. And the universe doesn't play like that, right? I was just tapping my wrist then, for you might not have been able to see. So yeah, it's just about thinking about what's going on in your head. Like, work it out. What are the things that are making you feel contracted? What are the things that are making you feel like it's not helpful? What are the things that are making you feel stressed? Yeah. And so then being in that energy of like abundance, being in the energy of, look at me paying for my coffee. I have more than enough. I'm so happy I'm paying, maybe it's $6 wherever you go to. Maybe you're paying $6 for a coffee, and you're seeing that as energy, and that is going to the people that you're handing it to. Maybe using card because you're conscious of hands. You know, you're seeing that the energy that goes into that coffee, like being really, feeling really abundant, knowing that your money is flowing. Maybe you're flipping your shit to say, the more energy that flows from me, the more I get back. It's the same with our money. The more money that I let flow away from me, the more money circulates back to me. Okay. So I'm going to wrap it up there. Hi, Tamer. I know you just joined us. Sorry, love.